before we move on, I want to apologize to Viking. A few months ago, I had a bad game in solo queue with Viking. Clearly, I was holding him back. He is absolutely insane, apparently.
Wait, he camped your lane?
No, I was playing with him, and I didn't have a very good game. Let's just leave it at that.
Hey, it happens to all of us. It happens to all of us. You were playing top?
Oh, yeah.
Connected?
Yep.
And you fed?
Maybe.
That's a trinity as we look into NYYRIKKI versus X7. Final chance for NYYRIKKI, a really good chance for X7 to climb on the staircase to heaven, I would say. What can we expect from this game? Where should we focus?
Match of the week. That's the thing I will start off by saying right here.
Oh.
Do or die for NYYRIKKI. The past couple weeks have been great for them, beating JDXL first of all. And now, this is the real test. And in form, X7, our reigning champions, top 8 European Masters team, you need to win now. A loss and you're out.
He's gonna break the table though. He's just smashing on the glass. Let's look into the top side. I mean, we're both top players. Let's talk about this one.
Yeah, so I was gonna break it down. When it comes to the gameplay side of things, what we're seeing here is what we're going to see in this game is 2 separate playstyles clashing. We're gonna see the bot side gameplay of NYYRIKKI. They're playing through Azator really continuously all the time, and we're also going to see the clash of top laners. X7 have really obviously become this roaming jungle mid facilitator into helping Chasey. So we're going to see if, definitely we're going to have to pay attention to see if Banderas can survive and weather the storm versus Chasey and the whole of X7 playing through them as the win condition. If Banderas cannot manage to survive like he has been doing recently, whilst they play through bot lane, X7 are just going to roll.
Yeah, I think for me, Banderas, right, his numbers definitely tell that he has been playing towards the bot lane, but I want to point out that he can also play for himself. I have countless memories of how he defeated Bifrost single-handedly down when he played on Rich Gang in the Norwegian scene, where he played the 3 hours and he got 1v4 quarter kills and all this kind of crazy stuff. So he's a very mechanically gifted player who can play for himself, kind of like we've seen with Jax playing and Kerberos be able to do. But this play, he has been more focusing on facilitating the Azatar. And I think recently, facilitating Azatar has been what works. So that's what I hope they stick with in this do or die game.
They have a few lanes where they can take the win versus X7. That's why we're going to jump into Champion Select. Nobody's going to hit the table. Just press it gently. There you go. Thank you. Let's jump into the Champion Select for the 4th game of the day. NYYRIKKI versus X7. Let's kick it away. We have Lilia Fiora being removed from Banderas instantly, but on the other side, take the cat, good lesson, and take away the spinning axe.
Just wanted to make a quick point to break down some of the bans here, right? Specifically the Lilia one. I don't know. If you guys can open up LoL Pros right now and load up Lulas' OPGG, go look at his Lilia stats and just get nightmares. He has a 7 average KDA with a 60% win rate over like 100 games. It's absolutely disturbing. It's by far his best champ. That's why you're seeing these target bans every single game versus Lulas against his Lilia.
Yeah, and I think I obviously want to point out, I just mentioned Banderas. We've seen him Fiora be able to do disgusting things that won't be happening this time around. So for me, this kind of tells me that Banderas will likely be going more towards the facilitating style this time around, and he'll not be playing for Azatar because the Aphelios is still left open. The gem, we've seen him have most success on both in spring and in summer, but I'm hearing some noises here about the Seraphine being locked.
Yeah.
You built it, you took away the nod and you allowed the Seraphine to be in the game.
I'm really confused because honestly, I'm really confused that they've taken a completely different route. NYYRIKKI have. Usually they leave up Gnar and are confident in countering it. Maybe Banderas doesn't think he can counter the Chasey Gnar with his Jace, like always. But the Seraphine lock-in really works with how X7 play. So it indicates to me that they're going to play their classic style of mid into top. The Seraphine locks in that weak side bot lane for Attila, which facilitates that. And now, like I said, we're getting that different dynamic of strong side bot lane for NYYRIKKI versus weak side bot lane for X7 and strong side top for X7.
I've seen this in the past. This for the top lane could be a menace. It could be a flex as well, but it's still a hover for both for Viking. I don't know if this is going to be picked. There are a lot of other picks he can take to face off, but it's it. It is in. It is in.
Looks in the Viking. I mean,
Viking with the Viking, yeah.
I would be more surprised to see it jungle, to be honest. I think
this could be a top.
Recently, we've been seeing Olaf more towards the top side. I think if it were to go jungle, maybe I don't know anything, but I don't like. Wow, it is jungle. So I guess they're using Olaf to match the early game of the Volibear, but I'm not a huge fan of it. Like, to be honest, I prefer the Xin Zhaos and the Lee Sins. But now we have the solid GP blind pick, which is pretty hard to counter. Maybe we see the Banderas Kale? Maybe? I think that'll probably be his best answer.
If not, they can go for the support and lock in something for the Bagnale and maybe a Nautilus to try and help with the Kalista, get that lockdown coming into the bot side on the beginning of the game. And that could be it. This is an easy pick for them, but that will mean that X7 can lock or at least try to remove the top laners away from Banderas.
I think you're highlighting the kill. I would definitely expect to see that banned here. Banderas has gotten pentakills before in competitive down in Norway on the kill and recently won a lot of games on it. So would make sense rather actually for them to ban it away. But if they don't, obviously they'd probably have something else planned.
Yeah, you have your... Okay, so the biggest options into a Gangplank right now are probably your Shyvana, your Kayle. You also have the option of picking Camille plus jungle setup, which you have in the Volibear, because I know Banderas does play Kayle. You could also pick Jace into Gangplank. Jace does do fine into Gangplank. It's a bit rough early because of all the nerfs to Jace. Jace's early base AD and, you know, all these things. And Gangplank's pretty broken right now. But instead, we do see the Renata ban to deny scaling, because I imagine they're worried about the Seraphine flex into mid as well, or the Seraphine Renata bot lane. Oh, Banderas plays Tryndamere. I completely forgot about this. Yeah, Tryndamere is an awful matchup for Gangplank because of how Ghost interacts with Gangplank. Gangplank wants to disengage. You take Ghost, you just keep running at him and he can't disengage. So...
And after level 6, things get a little bit awkward, but it's going to be the Braum, the last one. It feels like they're secure that this Seraphine is not going to be the support, but maybe they can shift that one, because do you really want to give Attila, of all AD carries, a Seraphine?
Not with what he's played recently, and not with what he's played this split. We talked about how he played, you know, more... not as aggressive AD carries at the start of the split, but he's transitioned more into heavy AD carries, you know, the Draven and that sort of stuff. So this would be a very big twist in such an important game for them to bring out, which would definitely surprise me. But as we see, the Kayle has not been banned, hovered, and will be locked in. So Banderas on one of his most iconic champions, one that he has dominated Norway with.
I actually think this Gragas ban's a mistake. I think Kayle is much worse for Gangplank than Gragas is. I really disagree with the X7 ban on the Gragas. I do like the Tryndamere ban, but not that one. And now we're seeing the Aphelios. This has been pretty standard. I guess it is a Seraphine middle support now. This is not much less common than the AD carry Seraphine.
It's going to be locked in, and there we go. It's going to be the Seraphine for Tempt, because Kasing will bring in the Frog to the bot side to go along with that Aphelios. Aphelios getting a little bit more light. I see your face twisting, confusion and painful at the same time.
Yeah.
Explain to me, Aragon.
I mean, I just
need a pill.
I don't see nice lanes to play through for the Olaf. Yes, you get priority topside, so you can guarantee his camps that way, kind of. But I really don't like the whole Olaf Seraphine mid. Yes, you pair the enchanters with Olaf. I guess that's the idea they're going for. But I think it's much easier to play NYYRIKKI's comp. I think it's 10 times easier to play NYYRIKKI's comp. You can play into bot side. You have the guaranteed scaling top side. I would rather play NYYRIKKI's comp.
I wholeheartedly agree. I think NYYRIKKI has a way more straightforward comp, things that make sense, are more in the meta, and more, you know, strong pocket picks. For example, Banderas' Kayle. I like the Volibear, of course, to facilitate the bot lane early on. And if they get Assetto ahead, I think, you know, he'll be able to use the lead well enough to get Banderas as well into the game. And when he's in the game on the Kayle, he can simply take over. So I honestly think NYYRIKKI can definitely keep the playoff race on here.
That is beautiful, but let me know who's going to take it. Aragon, I'll start with you.
I just wanted to quickly clarify. Maybe I'm underestimating Aphelios and Tahm Kench's ability to survive against the Kalista Nautilus ulti. I think I'm going to give it to X7.
X7.
Yes.
So you can just take the opposite and win, because so far he's been wrong.
That's true. I mean, 0% correct prediction rate today. I've had a pretty good day overall on prediction for 3 out of 4. Oh wait, 2 out of 3 is actually. But I will be sticking with NYYRIKKI. I mentioned it. I like what they do in that draft. I think Assetto will be able to get ahead. And if Banderas goes late on Kayle, he's able to carry.
In order to get to that, you need to allow Viking to let you breathe, and that's not an easy task if you're playing for NYYRIKKI. So tossing into the casters. Wait, I only see one. It's only initialize.
I was joined by Trouble, but she's been standing still for so long that... What happened? I just lost sight for a second. Well, yeah, there you are.
I was hiding.
It's not Twitch, it's Timo! Okay, there's been an ongoing argument in the background that Trouble has decided that every champion says, I am hiding, or I was hiding, not...
I was hiding.
It's true, she was. Okay, anyway, we're gonna move on to the Rift.
Listen,
Attila hovered Timo.
I was still for long enough. My passive came through, okay? I went invisible.
We have fun here on the NLC. We've got some inverted game scores here. X7, 9 and 6. NYYRIKKI 6 and 9. And NYYYRIKKI feeling a little bit down after Bifrost won their last game. Makes their job of getting into playoffs significantly harder. And I do want to start here, bringing it back to a slightly more serious point about your slight disagreement with the desk, that you actually preferred X7's draft here. So I'll give you a second here to justify yourself, considering the desk already explained why they quite like what NYYRIKKI have done.
You know what? I just really like when everyone has a different approach and also gives a reasoning behind
Absolutely.
their approach. I love the fact that on the desk they said, you know what, KO scaling with Orianna shields and Volibear early game and Kalista was the ball for Azitor, no one else other than Azitor, right? It makes a recipe for success. Now, when I see Viking on one of the more aggressive junglers, especially the Olaf, I'm looking for priority lanes. Olaf, to be played in the meta, usually needs a priority lane to go with, and then you have Gangplank that's going to be shoving in Kayle in the early game. Seraphine can take control of the lane really easily. She has a bunch of wave clear, so that's 2 priority lanes. And depending on how your level 1 will go into the Kalista, Aphelios lanes as well can get priority towards both side of the map. So Viking having a bunch of champions that he can move around the map and play with, plus healing, shielding, speeding up from Seraphine in the late game is going to be absolutely obnoxious to play with if you are NYYRIKKI.
Well, justified trouble. We'll see whose take of the 3 analysts here is correct, as Attila might be getting bush ganged level 1. Kalista Nautilus, we saw that earlier, flash in for the root. Now Bignali's still saving that Dredge line, trying to play close to the wall to turn this one around. Kasinging will do what he can. It's an exhaust for a cleanse alongside that flash. Attila pretty low, but does have Severum, and if he can get access to the wave, can do what he can to heal up with that and the potion.
You said it though, that is a flash that's fallen off of Abagnale onto the Nautilus. And if you look at the tops of the map, Olaf is pathing towards bot. Now, of course, both of his camps, the Raids and the red buff, have been warded, and he's going to get spotted whilst he's on his way to the bot side of the map. But if he plays it cleverly, maybe he can sneak around Vision and go towards that bot side of the map, start getting that Aphelios ahead. We saw it with Bifrost. Once Odi was ahead onto that Aphelios, he was a terror on the map.
And we have seen what happens when Kalistas don't get rolling early across multiple leagues. Hell, we saw it in the last game.
Both the wards just went down right now. Viking
bad timing.
Completely unspotted. And yes, of course, they know that because the wards went down, Viking started top side of the map because he wasn't seen for so long. But right now, you do not necessarily...
You can't quite get it down to the specific timing. Exactly.
And bot lane has lost the flash. Now, the positives for NYYRIKKI is that Lulas is also passing towards the bot side map, and we all know how important and powerful Volibear is in this 3v3.
Indeed it is. Might take this brief opportunity while we're seeing Lulas have a little bit of a look down here to remind people that we have got a hashtag NLC memes. Pantheon is a bad champion. What did you just say? He is indeed mad. Thank you, Jojo. Congratulations, of course, for the Singularity win earlier.
This is more accurate than the other one.
There's a lot of fury in Archerom's face, so remember to throw that hashtag out. We are enjoying that one.
Fury does have a Pantheon.
He does. That's true. Maybe that was the power of the victory, especially with the buffs coming up. That's what that was the buff Bifrost really needed. As Viking is here on the Viking, looking to potentially counter gank down here himself. But
Abagnale chose to stay though. So Viking might see an opening for a gank, although X7 tried to shove in.
He's just out of range on that ward. Oh, the sweeper finally spots it. I wondered whether it would tie him up before then. We'll get it down in time, so won't look for the gank. We'll just take this opportunity to clear out that ward and look potentially for a reset before his backs come through. Don't believe he got a scuttle crab, though, of course, so we'll be down that. Clearly very important jungle camp, says the jungler.
It's fine. It's good that we're not in like last year where people would like flash smite the crab because he gave so much golden experience.
He's still on vision. He went for a lane gank here as well. Viking would have been off vision if not for that ward.
I think if anything, Viking right here is having the bot lane because they really need to crush in that wave. Making sure that you get the Tamkens on the map maybe a little bit earlier. Go towards your mid lane, hover around there. Again, it is so important to have tempo on the map, meaning that if you get a good reset, that means you have more members at map advantage on the map, whilst the enemy team is still running from the fountain. That means you have a certain amount of seconds of opportunities where you have the numbers advantage in that particular skirmish.
And we're just hovering over that top lane as well. Might be worth having a chat about both of these top laners. They've been 2 of our better performing players. Of course, Banderas down some of that CS, but that's not been any discredit to him. He's been a very pivotal player in NYYRIKKI's wins over the last few weeks. But of course, Chasey got put down on Monday. Still looked pretty damn good on that Aurelia as the game went on.
Yeah, he was an absolute terror on that Aurelia. And honestly, when he plays towards these more carry picks towards the top side of the map, with the Jace, the Aurelias, the Fioras, he looks a lot more scary than, for example, the Sejuanis that we saw him on, which he was also really powerful on. So I feel like we had a few question marks coming into this season, bringing Chasey from Korean Challengers Series, and we're wondering what he can bring to X7. I feel like he's one of the more consistent, stable top laners that we have in his own playstyle. He plays aggressive, he scales into the late game with whatever pick he gets. Sorry, he doesn't play aggressive, he plays stable through the lane, he gets scaling on his champions, and then he enters the fight and becomes a menace like he did with Aurelia.
Absolutely, and of course, Bandera's no slouch. He's taken the Kale, which of course was flavour of the month towards the beginning of this, but it's fallen out of favour a little bit as things like the Sejuani have died away a little bit. Not so many easy lanes, but anybody who's seen any LPL can tell you the Shy has put far too many games into that champion, blind or not. And
yeah, the Shy is the Shy. I think he should never be.
Yeah, well, like he's always an odd one to call. I was like, yeah, this guy's doing it, but it's the Shy. You understand? Yeah, like he is.
I could play Soraka top lane, you know.
People often say, you know, like top laners are psychopaths, but it's a little bit true there. As Viking and Lulas are both in the same place at the same time, but they'll both be spotted, and a little more right home about that as we discuss the potential mental instabilities of crazy top laners out there, and have to see how it all plays out.
Man, when you're isolated for so long.
Something I've not seen another player in 10 minutes.
It's been 84 years.
I mean, with the top lane changes coming through again to nerf TP, it's going to just more extreme towards that. I mean, as the patches roll on.
Maybe this will actually be a positive, because now they'll take Ignite and say screw TP altogether, you know?
Yeah, like they finally stop. It's like it's time for violence.
But dragons are gonna get so much stronger. I don't care. You're on your own now.
Like, I must choose one-on-one violence. Do you understand? This is what my role is now.
Of course, we're rumbling so much and we're making fun because this is a pretty slow early game, which, if you look at the compositions, it really heavily favors X7. Gangplank scaling towards the later stages together with Seraphine and Aphelios. We saw what Singularity could do with the Gangplank. We saw Aphelios in the hands of Bifrost as well. Later on, scaling picks into something like a Kalista that is very short range and can get very easily punished, just do work.
Yeah, and I feel like Viking this game as well probably ought to switch his axe out for glow sticks, because he's basically playing Seraphine's biggest hand there to extend the range of her music, you know, like hit them with the encore, get it running through.
A really nice skin idea.
But seriously, like super fan Olaf with, I believe the term is water sticks, if I remember my idol culture correctly. I had a few friends I have a friend who actually is an idol in Japan, like legit, full-on idol. Worked half-time for Disney and half-time as an idol. It's kind of cool.
Okay, that is cool.
So yeah, went to see her once or twice. Did a really cool job. Moved over from the UK and went over there to be an idol. And that means I have some idea, vaguely, about what those things are. Maybe Viking one day could play an Olaf skin with the water sticks. That was a huge tangent, and I won't apologize.
Oh, no. Well, luckily for you,
yes,
this game is still dead even.
Yeah, it is. 0-0.
There's been no opportunities for ganks on the map. I feel like, if anything, Lulas has been waiting for that level 6 together with Aero to possibly set up a gank, but it's not easy. But the saving grace is that 8-minute mark on the Rift, when the Rift Herald decides to spawn and teams will want to fight around it. Very crucially, Attila still in the bottom lane. Abagnale has actually reached what we call XP, gotten that level 6 for himself. Very important to have that level 6 on your support in these fights, providing a lot more CC and engage/disengage. Curiously though, NYYRIKKI are not going to go for the Rift Herald, which means Attila gets some sweet alone time with the turret plating's down ball.
That's a bit of a problem, considering you're playing with the Kalista that's down CS at this point as well, after that little roam around as well, and that could be a bit problematic. We know what happens, as we said, when Kalistas don't get those early advantages from lane, when they're not played towards especially, and some slight look-ins and some standoffs in the bot lane are not ganks themselves. As Kasing, though, might be the opposite of that. We'll try an Abyssal Dive out. Instead, we'll just do it on top of himself into the Cannon Barrage afterwards. Vikings here as well. Does have the Ragnarok. Moonlight Visual goes wide, but now Tempter's here with an encore to his name, but will not drop that particular track quite yet. The stream #1 will not be out quite yet on Sport.
I'm also very surprised that Lulas chose to use his flash instead of his ultimate to try and get over the wall. I feel like ultimate, yes, it's very important if you want to tower dive, but your flash is a 5-minute summoner spell cooldown, and it's much more important if you want to make the Q flash play to engage onto somebody really quickly. Might have been a little bit of a panic button there just to get away from the sticky situation, but nevertheless, this is two summons that are going to be burnt for the side of NYYRIKKI. Aero had to also TP in the mid lane to catch in the wave that was being shoved in. And again, X7, we're pinging all this time towards the bot side of the map, trying to make a pick. NYYRIKKI have been denying it so far, but again, the clock is ticking. Yes, Kale can get to that level 16, but when you've been zoned away by ultimates from Seraphine, by barrels from the Gangplank, by ultimates from Gangplank, we've mentioned it over and over again. Yes, Kale is an absolute menace, level 16, but she cannot enter the team fight, she cannot put down the damage that she has.
And of course, there are a lot of ways to zone her out this game, but on the side, you do have the Orianna plus the Volibear. There you go. I was going to call him a Viking, but it's on the other side, of course. The Orianna plus the Volibear combo. You've still got the Fate Score. You've got ways to get the fight started. And so you do have some ways to potentially facilitate the fact that Kalista isn't as dominant as you would normally like with a draft that includes her. Still, though, Viking taking this opportunity with the lane pressure to look to secure some vision and maybe start up this early Drake.
Yeah, also Volibear showing towards the top side of the map. You know that the bot side is pretty free for X7 to secure the first dragon. NYYRIKKI obviously have one for themselves, so it's going to be one piece for everyone. But then again, I feel like NYYRIKKI are stalling a little bit too much. Yes, your Orianna scales. Yes, your KO scales as well. Kale is going to be an AD carry in this game. I'm expecting for Banderas to go towards the Kraken Slayer, put down that AD damage, so you don't necessarily have to rely on...
Aero needs to be so afraid as the encore comes through there. Forced to flash away as Tempt has to return the favor after the shockwave came through. Both mid laners down without those summoners. First bit of action we've seen all game long, really, at this point.
Yeah, we've got a little bit of cheaping going on each other right there, but definitely NYYRIKKI and X7 are literally handshaking their way towards that late game. And then again, the fact that you have added that win con on Banderas being the AD carry, again, as I was saying, for the late game, and not necessarily put all of the AD damage dealing weight onto Azita's Kalista. I think it's a pretty good turnaround. After a few levels, Kale actually starts winning versus Gangplank. You can take the 1-for-1, you can call your Volibear towards the top side of the map, and you can start slowly but surely snowballing her.
They're going to have to, of course, because just out of the laning phase, about 1,500 gold lead to X7 just off those raw mechanics. We've always known these players are some of the best in the business in the ERLs, great hands on them, and definitely clicking on minions pretty well so far.
Again, we're going to take a rest from any fights.
It's been a soothing game.
Especially since when you're talking about setup, you're thinking of Orianna Shockwave, you're thinking of Seraphine ult, and they're both down for the time being. The junglers, in particular Lulas, has almost his entire topside jungle to go and farm for, but he's going to be wrapping around in mid lane, and of course the fact that the supports are there is because that flash is missing for both Aero and Tempt. If you can make a pick onto a flashless, ultless Seraphine, that could really benefit you, but then again, NYYRIKKI are rotating their entire team towards the top side of the map. Attila, Kasing still at the ball. This surely should be a secured Rift Herald for the side of NYYRIKKI.
Viking backs away, and actually they back away, do NYYRIKKI as well, and we've got 30 seconds until the plates are off anyway.
You know what, Initialize? I'm throwing my hands up.
Everyone needs to be a little afraid. You know, you can throw your hands up all you want. It's not going to make any action happen. That's not how it works this game.
Since I'm jinxing the action, I'm going to try to jinx passiveness.
Well, we are maybe seeing Attila get a tower down here, which would be fairly explosive as far as this game goes. Clearly, Seraphine is in a chill phase of her music, going for like chill beats to, I don't know, play games to.
So twice now that NYYRIKKI have rotated their entire team towards the tops of the map to potentially go for a Rift Herald play, they just have not. And what has happened through that? Attila has cashed in on every single turret plate, and he will leave it until the last second of 14 minutes as well. Take the last tower to make sure that the wave that was underneath the tower all dies before the tower does. So that is first tower to Attila, 5 tower platings over to Attila. This is a very fed Aphelios. If we can very quickly see the gold in the AD carries as well. This is an Aphelios that wants to be scaling, and he's 1,500 gold ahead of a Kalista that wants to snowball in the early game.
And let's chat a little about Attila and his kind of improvement over the last few weeks on X7. Of course, X7 plus Viking have been a lot more comfortable into the mid-late games, especially when they don't have leads, and that's really helped Attila, honestly, who often felt a little bit lost in those mid-games, getting caught out in side lanes a bit, and a slow game like this, where you're on the Aphelios, you're getting passive leads, sounds fantastic for this player right now.
I feel like if you're going to their voice comms, we thought that maybe Viking was the voice they were missing. You will see how vocal everyone sounds. Kasing is calling, Attila is calling, Chasey is calling. They're all very willing to put their own little, what we call in Greece is like, we're putting our own little stone in this huge house we want to build, you know? So everyone puts their own little effort to try and build these team fights, but it's not mumbling, it's very serious shot calling, and it comes correctly from anyone. And I think Viking joining the team gave them that confidence to be a lot more vocal. Again, Aphelios so fed at this point.
Two
Bot lane
towers now.
tower, the entire tower pre-minute 14. Swap him up top lane. Who's going to reply? The kill is on the other side of the map, trying to farm, get to level 16 as fast as possible, only level 11 right now. 2 turrets for that Aphelios, starting the Rift Roll, which, by the way, NYYRIKKI had rotated their entire team twice to try and get.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge one, and let's be real, like, I feel like Attila is supposed to be playing the AD carry, but he's looking more and more like a wizard, right? He's the master of the 2 towers right now. Saruman in the bot
I'm
lane.
going to say the jungler, but...
No, I was literally making a Lord of the Rings reference. Like, it was kind of like supposed to be like this sort of like subtle reference, the 2 towers, and Saruman being like, you know, a wizard. Instead, now I'm here having to explain it, and that's ruined it a bit. I'm sorry about that. You look so disappointed in me, Georgia.
It's the Timo hat.
She's still wearing it, for the reference. You can't see her right now, but it's still on. It's not been removed. The meme lives on.
It's not me initialized, it's the hat.
I don't think hats like change personalities. I don't care what you tell me. You can't sell me on that one.
Change the facial expressions.
Still, Herald will finally be secured by X7. We're going to try and use that maybe to crack that final Rainbow Eye turret. And actually, with the wave being shoved in topside, they could potentially think about dropping it there, but they'll decide against it. The Dragon did fall to NYYRIKKI, though, but it's only their second, so a ways off anything resembling a soul.
And they've been playing through the waves really well. That mid lane wave was shoved in, I think it was a wave and a half with a cannon as well. Top lane was shoved in by Attila. Now he's going to reset. He's got his own Gale Force. He's almost got the second item. So item and a half, Aphelios, really strong right now on the 2 item mark. He's going to be absolutely popping in these team fights. They're going to transition him now towards the mid lane, I'm assuming, where the Rift Herald could potentially be popped. Now the thing is, usually to pop a Rift Herald when a team has a bunch of wave clear, you need to catch them off guard with less numbers advantage around that tower. And I think there needs to be some side lane pressure from the side of X7 so they can split the attention of NYYRIKKI. Right now would be the perfect situation because Orianna just so topside.
Oh, fancy you mentioned that. Or funny you mentioned that, rather, as I get that colloquialism correct. Viking will drop the Herald with that in mind. Gonna chunk it out pretty well here. Of course, with the turret plating's down, this should be a fairly easy take as long as that charge comes through. Got a little bit caught on the corner, but no real way to prevent that from happening. And turret number 3 falls down. The gold lead continues to extend for X7. And honestly, for NYYRIKKI, you've drafted Volibear, Kalista, and Nautilus, and not made an aggressive play yet. I know you have Orianna, I know you have Kayle, but you can't just passively bleed out like this.
I think this was the win condition, right? Playing towards the top side of the map. Viking might be getting himself caught here.
Might be, but he's still got Ragnarok. He doesn't have to care too much. Still got Ghost to just throw an undertow, and that play is dragged under.
So, unless you want to commit a flash Q from Volibear, which then in turn Olaf can very easily ult and run away from with Ghost, I don't think using your flash right there from Lulas is really worth it. Now, I think the macro has been impeccable from X7. They have been constantly putting their Aphelios in very safe lanes, and he constantly keeps farming more and more and more. The fact that they saw the Orianna mid lane, knew the wave clear is not there, pushed that mid lane tower open, that was the win condition. Bleed your vision into NYYRIKKI's jungle and then slowly start contesting for these dragons once you have the push. Also, we saw Gangplank, Chasey block the Gale from entering the fight. Really, really good stuff. The communication seems to be flowing so much better in this iteration of X7.
Well, we were talking about Moroshki being the Polish Chovy in the last game, but clearly Temp's learned a thing or two from his former competition, as he's something ridiculous like 222 CS pre-20 minutes is finally getting a fight between these top laners in Australian lanes. But do you want to see how this 4v4 now goes? The Viking chunked out, but Tempt going to be able to heal up with the surround sound. Gale Force falling to Lulas, takes a lot of damage. Shockwave onto 2, but it's only really a disengage. It's rooted is Abagnale. Teleport back. Fate's Call used to keep him alive. Now Kasing's in trouble, but the turnaround of the teleport's coming through. The Encore will make an absolute disaster. Divine Judgment won't keep people alive. Remember, Banderas has to flash away a first blood to Chasey, and the NYYRIKKI have to run for the hills.
That was such a great fight for X7. Honestly, they were baiting the teleports. They want more as their has to flash away the flash from Temp.
The beat drop and the passive will do what it needs to. Stage presence from Seraphine has never been larger.
Very, very well played. Tempt with an aggressive play, flashing forward to capitalize onto Banderas. 2 dead for NYYRIKKI means there's no one there to defend that tier 2 mid lane tower. And then slowly but surely, that map is going to be becoming darker and darker and darker for NYYRIKKI. Let's watch this again, because it is a 4 versus 4. Viking trades a bunch of his HP to take a lot of cooldowns from the Nautilus. Abagnale is trying to run from the side, but then Lulas gets caught and he has to use his ultimate. Who does else use his ultimate? Aero, because he has to defend the volley bear. Beautiful cannon barrage to stop the 2 members of NYYRIKKI from going in. And honestly, that Seraphine ultimate, the second that Banderas lands into the fight, you know that a level 13 Kayle could be very instrumental for a NYYRIKKI victory in the team fight. The fact that Tempo was holding that ultimate for the last second was beautiful. The coordination so far on X7 has been stellar. The macro, the early game decision making, everything looks really clean. And let's reiterate, if NYYRIKKI lose this game,
they're done.
That's it.
They're done. The bar will be at 9 games to get into playoff with 3 games remaining. They must get this game, and it's not looking good right now. It's been a slow game so far, but the gold has inexorably gone in X7's favor, and it continues to get more and more difficult. They're now with the item advantage here as well. So 2 items complete, still part complete on NYYRIKKI, and that's going to be a big deal when this dragon's coming up. It'll be sole point for NYYRIKKI. I just don't know how easy it will be for them to fight it.
And Aero is looking for a pick mid lane. If you poke them down, you might be able to make an engage.
Slow into the cannon barrage encore! How much damage can X7 get done? Aero toe low, running away from the Olaf, who was marauding across the Orianna. Clockwork runs out of steam. A gale force from Attila to hop forward. A massive abyssal dive afterwards to continue to keep this fight going. Stopwatch. Banderas has got golden, but cannot win the 1 versus 2. And X7 absolutely dominate the fight. NYYRIKKI are put to the sword, or in this case, the barrel.
Ace for X7, and they're going to be running down, well, up, rather, that river towards the
Don't know which way it's flowing.
Attila is going to be left behind to take away the second dragon for X7, and the rest of the team are going to be taking onto that purple worm. Yet again, a flawless team fight. It was initially Tempt getting caught, but you see the scaling, the healing, the shielding, the utility coming through from X7. Azator on the Kalista cannot play this team fight. He's faced by slows from Seraphine, a Tam Kench in his face, Aphelios with bigger range than him, a bunch of barrels and ultimates by Chasey, and I'm not even gonna count Viking running towards his way being unseeable. So again, Tempt is getting a really nice route right there, plus the ultimate, but this Seraphine does not die, also gets eaten by Kasing, and then Aero is being chased into the fight. Even though the Sombrero hits 3, it just does not matter because he went into a suicide mission trying to pull everyone away from his teammates, but that wasn't enough because X7 did follow through onto that chase. And again, X7 here are scaling better, the team fights look better. And I mean, come on, man, you're 6 levels up, stop bullying him.
That was pretty brutal. Honestly, it says something that it is our 2 EU Masters representatives from Spring that were struggling for a lot of this regular season as Viking looks to continue the domination X7 have had, and maybe, just maybe, I'll get to finish the point I was setting up towards. Bifrost X7, 2 most dominant games today. I think that's without doubt so far. I've got 1 more left to play, but coming into playoffs when they are towards the bottom end of that playoff bracket right now, a lot of those other teams need to be a little afraid because it's looking like a lot of our teams are really gearing up with those best of 5s on the horizon.
We had it in the interview, the previous game as well, right? X7 are looking pretty scary. They're looking like the contender, the #1 spot, Viking.
NYYRIKKI with a Hail Mary, but the encore afterwards will be potentially counteracted by the Fate's Call. Finale doing what he can to now go back in, has to flash away, and X7 will not be denied.
Everyone has to run for the heals from the side of NYYRIKKI. They do have 1 cannon minion that's baroned up, and this is it for X7. Sure, they have a wave building up mid and bot, but these are going to be very slow push waves. All you have to work with right now for the remainder of your Baron is that 1 last wave that's coming up. Do NYYRIKKI have anything to say about this? Because all of their ultimates are down except the Kayle ult, and that's not enough.
I'll try and go in, but I'll raise you a different metal band to Metallica that Stranger Things have been making so famous recently. Iron Maiden have a a song called Run to the Hills, and NYYRIKKI better be listening loud and proud as the guitars rear up in this one. Seraphine not quite in pentakill yet, but you can feel the danger in this game. So very close to a victory, and NYYRIKKI, it feels like they're already out of answers, Kayle or not.
Slowly but surely, X7 have accumulated a 10,000 gold lead. And this is what a slow choking your opponent game looks like. You take their gold in the early, you translate to mid-game Herald, you take the towers, you deprive them of vision, and then you team fight them to death. This is what X7 have done in this particular game. Chasey is looking back, he might get caught.
They do catch him. He's going to try and heal it, but he gets shut down. That goes into Astor's pockets, but X7 might take the fight anyway. They're in a 3v4 until Temp turns up. The flash encore onto 3 into the Moonlight Vigil. Good night, NYYRIKKI.
Beautiful stuff right there from X7. Temp turning the fight around, Chasey getting caught, but it doesn't matter. Remember that level 16 KO that everyone is afraid of? One level off, but no TP for Banderas, meaning that X7 do have the numbers advantage. This is a team fight comp that wants to be bundling up as 4, as 5 and playing the game together. X7, you cannot pick them apart if they're all grouped up.
Banderas continues to split push, might try and play for the bounty on the tier 2, but all the while, his inhibitor turret is under siege. Crescendum Calibrum means this is not long for the world. Lulas on the flank looking for maybe something. Banderas still not recalled, still not here to help defend. The inhibitor falls with no resistance.
3 seconds for Aura. He has TP, he has ultimate. Will he pull any weird TPs to try and stop that siege? The answer will be no. At this point, you do need both your solo laners with teleports to be able to join fights, because you do have 2 lanes bleeding with 2 inhibitors down for the side of NYYRIKKI. So the more teleports, the better to defend your base. NYYRIKKI, 10,000 gold down in deficit. This is your last hope. This is your last breath. If you want to make playoffs, you need to come back from a 10,000 gold deficit, and your name is not Misfits.
It's so hard to do as Chasey might be punished again, does have the orange, try and cleanse his way away, and NYYRIKKI is saying, we just can't win that fight, so we'll just try and play on the other side, but Chasey's got a flash this time and gets out. The summoner is popped, but it means there will be no pressure on this bot side, as all the while, Temp shoves in that mid lane wave to try and claim the final remaining inhibitor turret by themselves.
There's 3 members still remaining. They're being pinged from the sort of extent. They're like, what are they doing? They're still on the top side of the map, clearing waves. Astor is just now going to press the B button.
Cannon Rush to try and stop the backs.
This tower is gone.
They tried to stop with the Cannon Rush, won't quite work, but all the while the tower falls regardless. And X7 decide maybe not to go for the inhibitor, but the inhibitor turret itself is fallen. Kasing chunked though, and with the Cloud Dragon alive, there might be a world here where they could try and punish him, but Seraphine offers more healing than perhaps they were expecting.
Ring, 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 ring. I'm sorry for headphone users. Level 16 on that KO. So if there was a Hail Mary play, that should be the one from Banderas. NYYRIKKI are moving in for possibly the final team fight.
Is it a doomsday or a hoax? You don't know what the conspiracy theory is at quite yet. Abagnale falls down, Banderas free firing, but even at the level 16, even ascended a higher rank of Angel indeed. This Seraph will not be able to embrace her opponents. Lulas chunked, Aero on the other side, hit by the Gore Drinker, trying to run away with the Undertows, dragging the Clockwork Wonder under. Flash from Attila! So brutal, and the scaling is enough at this point. A flash, knock up, secures Banderas to boot as it all goes golden, but is a monument only to NYYRIKKI's sins. How dare they think about contesting? And this Pantheon falls, and X7 continue their inexorable march up the playoff standings. NYYRIKKI are out of playoffs. NYYRIKKI's dreams die here.
And Viking is still undefeated in the NLC Summer 2022. The guy joined X7 to try and help them make playoffs. The guy joined X7 and he said his hopes is to win the NLC this time. He had a fantastic run with Dusty in spring. This time, this roster looks like he can go even further. I can't even take me seriously with this hat.
I forgot you were wearing that, actually. What a fantastic game from X7. I bring myself back together. It was slow, but it was controlled, and it's a different look again from X7, who continue to step up, and this is looking much more like the team we were expecting coming out of EU Masters, coming into summer. Haru will not.
Better late than never.
Absolutely, and what a showing it was. I think we're still waiting here for some confirmation we're ready to go, so I think we have got a moment or two here to just sort of talk about our thoughts going into playoffs, right? Because X7 are looking like another one of those potential dark horses. Is it even a dark horse at this
And
point?
honestly, with the win from Bifrost, we didn't actually know if Bifrost had 100% locked in playoffs. Now with the defeat of NYYRIKKI, that means NYYRIKKI can no longer, oh my God, I can't speak, contest that 6th place, which means all of our teams are
They're
locked in for playoffs.
That is Riddle, Dusty, XL, X7, Bifrost, and I'm forgetting one team here. Remind me. Astralis, I should have known. The Dane on the desk will remind me. To them we go.
For Denmark.
Embarrassing, man. How can you forget Denmark? Pølser det hele, mand. Kom nu. Du vil ikke glemme os, bro. Kom nu, mand.
And there you go, X7 keep climbing. While one king is bleeding, the other one is looking to take the throne. And not only this is another statement from X7, but also a statement that we can play in a different way.
Yeah, exactly, man. I think that's my biggest takeaway from this game is it's a different style of X7. I was really worried they were falling into the same style every single game because as you approach playoffs, you want to be able to be a bit more adaptable in the best of 5s. But now they've shown, hey, we can play a Viking comp with, literally a Viking comp with Olaf plus Enchanters, as well as playing for Chasey and Tempt, pathing up to him. They've got so many different styles now. I'm super excited to see how they play in playoffs.
On the other side, though, looking at NYYRIKKI, they're out of playoffs. You have to take it in.
It's sad. It is very sad, especially because they actually gave it a very good shot. I mean, had they just rolled over and died these last couple of weeks when it did look tough, because we had a couple of weeks where we were talking about Veneer as the team, who, you know, was the team that really had a chance of making it in, and all of a sudden, after NYYRIKKI won against Singularity, then beat JDXL as well, they actually had a chance. So that's the sad part, right? They actually beat our top team in the league at the moment, still in terms of standing. Yes, JDXL aren't that hot at the moment, but they took a huge win there. Then they had 2 good wins against teams below them in the standings. So we were really thinking, if they can beat X7, I thought, who would be able to stop them? But well, X7, they stopped them just before it got fun and the race really became interesting. It's a sad loss for NYYRIKKI as they go out, but they can go out proudly because they did definitely show up in these last couple of weeks. Then they are a team that needed to be feared.
They're not going to be facing relegations, I believe.
They're staying.
So, because I don't know, we have 30,000 results or possibilities, so I don't know what's going to happen regardless of that one. But I know we have someone with us on the interview. I really want to talk with him. He's the man of the hour. He's the Viking that plays the Viking. Welcome back to the show, to the interviews. Well, first of all, picking the Viking seems really interesting, and there was nothing happening on the map for like 15 minutes, but that was on purpose, wasn't it?
I mean, kinda, but we could do some more stuff for sure. It was a bit slow game, but what's called? We knew we outscaled them, just win team fights. So I mean, in my mind, like we have very good players, and just come to team fights and we have won the game, you know. So for me, it was not really stressful in the game, you know.
You see the failures on the bot side for one side. You know he needs to scale, and you see the Kalista, and I think you allow the failures to play safe. It's not about killing the Kalista, it's about denying the Kalista. And when you have a Kalista on the other side, you know the jungler is going to the bot side, but it just didn't work. How did you shut down NYYRIKKI without even fighting versus them?
I mean, I was matching the Volibear bot side, and we wanted to maybe look for a kill on him sometimes, but me just being bot side creates a lot of pressure, and Volibear needs to be there because he used cleanse for some reason very early in the game, and we could set up a gank, you know. And just me sweeping wards creates a lot of pressure in the lane, and our bot lane was doing good, our top and mid, and we had outscaling draft. So yeah, I mean, I felt like just match and we'll win this game, you know.
This roster is going so well that we are finally getting other play styles for X7. Do you still have more? So you have the face front, just head on, smash versus them at the beginning of the game, get to the early to the mid game with a lot of advantage. You have this one where you can slow down without fighting. Do we still have more faces of X7 as we're about to jump into the best of 5s?
Yeah, of course. But you will have to wait and see.
Yeah, you don't need to say. I just need to know that they exist. You don't need to spoil them.
Of course.
Now, final question. I talked to you about this one. It seems like the throne is kind of empty right now. Are you looking to grab it?
Of course. That's why I came back, man.
You're a hungry guy, aren't you? You're really hungry for that one, okay? So let's see how it happens. Congratulations on another victory. Undefeated so far on the summer split. It's looking good for X7. Have a nice one, Viking. Always a pleasure.
Have a nice day. Thank you.
it may not seem so, but this guy has so much knowledge of the game, it's actually scary. It is really scary.
I could tell. He can perfectly tell you exactly how the draft wants to go, if you win or not, based on like whether or not you make early plays. He definitely seems like a really good shot caller.
And it's interesting that he knows how to behave on the map. It's not about fighting. It's about how do I need to behave to make sure the enemy team doesn't play their play style. And forcing your enemy to play your play style seems really difficult to do without fighting them, no?
I mean, they're just too good in terms
Just
of what I watched. What I really liked is, like they mentioned, right? If he went bot lane, the Volibear would have to follow. And if you can, dictate where Volibear goes in the early game, then you're in control. Because if you can deny the Volibear any opportunity to really get ahead, then he can build up a lead, then he can snowball, and then the Volibear at what, 15, 20 minutes falls flat and doesn't really have that much strength to offer to the game. So the fact that he was able to just simply play around with Lulas and say, no, you just follow me, we're not going to force anything. I'm fine with going into the late game. I am stronger than you are because your champion falls off harder than I do because I have enchanters to support me. It just meant that Lulas wasn't really able to have an impact in the game, and that meant that no one really got ahead. We saw, for example, Esida didn't get any kills, didn't get any leads, and in the late game team fights, the Aphelios is obviously going to be stronger if you're going completely even in terms of a Kalista AD carry and an Aphelios late game.
If X7 don't end up on third place, I really doubt that the team that ends on third place will pick them right to begin with. That's not a good decision. Let's talk with NYYRIKKI. Let's talk with Lulas for the first time. Hello, Irmo. Welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to finally have you here this time. Okay, obviously you guys are out of playoffs. It doesn't matter right now, but how are you feeling now being on the NLC, being on the show, being with NYYRIKKI as well? What is the sentiment right now?
Sentiment is a bit, bad, I guess, because we just lost. So for me, of course, it's a tough loss. The rest of the games or the rest of the split become a lot less meaningful. But regardless of that, I've had such a good experience. All of the players that I had the pleasure to play with are amazing, and of course, way above the level that I was used to play. So that's an awesome experience for me.
And that's what I want to talk about, the idea that you jumped into the NLC. I want to understand how it was to be contacted to, hey, you want to come to the NLC? What was your first reaction when you saw what league we were joining in? What went through your mind?
So I've always been pretty confident of my skill and also just aware of what I can add to a team. So I knew that after speaking with the coach, which I already knew and spoke with, which was Sotse, I knew that I could add and fulfill the shoes that they required. So I wasn't expecting or nervous or anything. Just I was quite conscious of what I was getting, and I was always I've always thought highly of myself, so I knew I was ready to go against the best in the NLC.
So tell me, what can you bring into a team?
Right, so I think I am quite articulate and controlled in the game. So I think once I do have, an assigned roster, like a team per se, a composition to play around, I'm pretty smart on where we should focus or where to direct our goals, objectives, etc. Just what to prioritize in order to succeed. I think this game, unluckily, I don't think we managed to go through with that. But although we did not, I think we put up a decent fight, at least for a while. And of course, we're still getting adjusted to each other. So it's up to grabs who shot calls what, and of course I think all of the other players are really competent and we're still getting used to each other, so everyone does different calls or has a different opinion on things. But if we could nail that out, I think we could definitely solidify a really good early game, which is usually what I think to always bring to the team, is just a solid controlled early game.
Okay, final question, a small one is, what do you expect for the rest of the split? What is your objective right now?
My objective is to have the best showing possible, or the most enjoying games, not only for me but for the people watching as well. So I know we're going against two big teams, so I want to obviously have a good performance, see how they perform, how I perform against such good players, and we'll see from there. I don't know where this will take me or the team, to be fair.
Let's see what it takes us. Thank you so much for this interview. Pleasure to meet you on the show, Lulas. Adeus.
Thank you very much. Goodbye. Adeus.
It's really good to have someone in Portuguese. I just said goodbye, by the way. Just said goodbye on that one. And it seems like the ambience, okay, we didn't make playoffs. Obviously, it's a tough one, but we're not on relegations. We're showcasing ourselves, and people are aware that this is a good team. We just need to solve things on maybe to 2023.
Yeah, 2023 is the hope
We don't know.
for NYYRIKKI. I just can't believe, it is very sad. I'm sad to see them go. Honestly, it's one of the first esports organization I actually worked with as a caster back in like 2018 when I had a lot of voice cracks. So obviously, I thank my faith in their faith in me back then, and it's heartbreaking to see them go. Especially, they had the shot. They beat JDXL. They beat some good teams, and more so also in the fact that at the beginning of the split, we knew they could have gotten some wins that they didn't end up getting. And it would have been so fun seeing them go up against Bifrost in these last 2 games, fighting for that last playoff spot.
So wait, they were the ones that believed in you in the first place?
No, there was also Square One. There was a lot of people who believed in me, funnily enough.
Okay. But the first one was NYYRIKKI?
As a Nordic organization, yes.
Yeah, I need to have a conversation with them. They did a good job. Let's look into the standings after this one. And then again, I want to get your feeling on this right now. We finally got our top 6. You believe this is the rightful top 6? What surprises can we still get?
Yeah, I think this is the rightful top 6. Whether or not it is in the right order, though, that is the question. I do not think it's in the right order.
Ooh, okay. Put it in the right order.
Put it in the right order.
Yeah, put it on the
This is going
spot.
to be full of hot takes. Sorry, Twitch chat. I don't mean to make you sad. It might... Dusty first. Okay, it's
Do
so
it.
hard.
No, do it. No
Okay,
doubts.
Dusty first.
Okay.
7 second. So difficult. The 3rd place is the hardest part, by the way.
You
by
gotta
far.
do it. You gotta do it.
Okay. Astralis 3rd.
Ooh.
Bifrost 4th.
Oh.
Riddle 5th. Slash JDXL.
The first team, I didn't...
I think that's right.
JD from first to
6th.
sixth. 6?
Yeah.
So Bifrost take the 5th.
Yes. Wait, no. Riddle takes the 5th.
Okay.
Hot takes. I
Those
love
are
this.
hot
I'm enjoying this, Aragon. Welcome to the desk.